I'm William Gilkey.
And where are you from?
Well, I was born in Ohio, raised in Virginia and Maryland, learned how to fly in Texas and Alabama and Vietnam. I instructed for a while in Alabama. Flew helicopters in the Gulf for 39 years. And finally I made it back here to Tennessee, God's country. I love this place, it's beautiful.
Well, that's wonderful. Now you mentioned you flew in Vietnam, so tell me about how you entered the military.
Well, I enlisted right out of high school. I had seen George Papard's movie Blue Max, and the romanticism of that whole thing just struck my little high school heart to the core. I wanted to be a helicopter pilot, so I took all the tests and they promised that they would let me try, and I managed to get through flight school. It took me a little over a year, and then I got to Vietnam in May of '68.
Okay.
Spent a year there.
And what kind of pilot were you?
Miserable. No, no. I flew Hueys. I started out flying B-model gunships, and I decided that there was just too much potential for downside there. A friend of mine got an aerial rocket artillery assignment where he was given coordinates, and he attacked those coordinates and hit them dead on. But it was a bad fire mission, and there were GIs down there, and it just destroyed him. We could tell him, you did exactly right. You were sent to the wrong place. But it was his finger on the trigger, so it was his heart that was broken. I said, well, how do I protect myself from that happening to me? The only way was not to fly guns anymore, so I switched over to slicks. So I flew troop carriers and medevac and resupply and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, and tell me about Vietnam. I mean, when you were flying, what was the atmosphere like? I mean, was it?
It was unlike anything that I could have prepared myself for. They say that flying a helicopter in combat is, hours of boredom punctuated by several seconds of stark terror, and that's pretty much the way it was. We were supporting ground troops, and they would go out into the field, and they might be out there for days, weeks at a time, exposed to all kinds of hostility and danger. Whereas as a helicopter pilot, we went out and flew our missions during the day and got into harm's way, but at night we were back at a relatively secure base. Yeah, it might get attacked, but it wasn't anything like the grunts who were stuck in the field had to live with.
Okay. Were the helicopters in pretty good running order?
Yeah, well, we made them run. I don't know how to put it. The mechanics worked absolute miracles with those helicopters. They put parts together and extended the life on them, things that nowadays they wouldn't think of doing. We flew so far over gross, we never thought about it. If we could bounce the thing into the air, we'd fly off with the load no matter what it weighed. Now they're a lot more conservative than that. They know how much the helicopter's supposed to lift, and they don't exceed those limitations.
Okay. Do you have any missions that stand out in your head that you'll never forget?
Oh, yeah, there was a few of them. I hadn't been in country for very long, just a couple of months, and I was flying with the 2nd platoon with the platoon leader, and on short final we took fire, and I don't know whether we had the drive shaft sheared or what, but the result was that we hit hard and rolled over. My aircraft commander was turned around looking away from me, and I thought that he was unconscious. I unbuckled my seatbelt, not thinking that the helicopter was upside down, so I fell on the roof, got over to him and unbuckled him and pushed him out through his green overhead window, and me and the door gunner carried him back to the ship behind us. And what it turns out he was looking at, he was conscious but shaken, was that door gunner who couldn't think to climb out the top of the helicopter. He just saw straight in front of him, and it was laying mostly on that side, so he, with his bare hands, dug a tunnel out from under to escape. We got back to the aircraft behind us, and the aircraft commander said, "Gilkey, are you all right?" I said, "Well, yeah, I'm fine." He says, "Well, go get that guy." I said, "What guy?" He says, well, that Vietnamese guy that's strapped onto your helicopter. I hadn't even seen him, but the machine gun mount had pinned one of the 6 Vietnamese troops that we were carrying by the hand. So we ran back, and we could hear the engine running. That's when we realized that the short shaft had failed. So its engine is still running, it's pumping fuel all over every place, and we're thinking, oh boy, when's it gonna blow? You know, can we get this guy out of here before the fire starts? And so we got up and we literally rocked the helicopter up to get the hard point off of his hand. And he got out and he ran to his friends, and they D'd him out of the AO to safety. And in the meantime, bullets are kicking up in the dust around us. I pulled my trusty .38 like that was going to do any good, and shoot back at the tree line and run back to the helicopter behind us, but I didn't quite get there, and our helicopter blew. We were far enough away from it that we weren't injured, but it wound up burning, and just a little piece of tail boom was left, and they took the pitch change link, which was a part of the control system to change the anti-torque setting on the tail rotor, and the crew chief made bracelets for everybody out of that to show, hey, you know, we crashed and lived.
So how many hard landings or crashes did you experience in Vietnam?
That was the only real crash that I rode out. Webb wasn't so fortunate. A few months later, he was shot down in War Zone C. Very rough, not mountainous, I'd call them foothills, but still several hundred feet high, up and down, rugged terrain, full of jungle, and crashed on a hilltop. So I knew I had to get him out of there. I shot an approach to the bottom of the hill, and I had my door gunner and crew chief each take 3 of the grunts that we were carrying and assault the hill in a pincers movement to try to find any survivors that we could. And as I hovered up the hill, Oler, the crew chief from Webb's bird, steps out to the side of the hill, literally in flames. He and Webb had gotten out, they'd gone back to the ship, blew up in their face, it knocked Webb down. Oler wasn't so lucky, it set him on fire. So I bumped him down with the toe of the skids, and Pinkston, my co-pilot, climbed out of the helicopter. Now, we're sitting on a steep hill, face into it, so the rotor blades are coming very close to the ground in front, and that's what I was afraid of, was somebody's going to step into that and get hit. Pinkston gets out and gets a hold of Oler, who's close to 300 pounds, on his shoulder, throws him up into the back of the ship, and plugs him in so that he can tell me where everybody else is. Well, Oler was too badly burned. His helmet had protected his face, but all across his shoulders and throat was 3rd-degree burns, and all he wanted was to get out of there. So I hovered up to the top of the hill, and my crew chief and door gunner found the survivors, and they had gotten them off to the side. I didn't see them at first, so I got to the ship, and I was trying to blow the flames back, and I practically melted the chin bubbles out of the front of the ship. And actually wound up blowing the flames back to where they were, you know. When I talked to Webb about that later, he says, I don't care, man, we were so happy just to see you. So they waved me in, and I couldn't carry my guys out, but I could carry Webb and all the troops that he had with him and take them straight to 93rd Field Evac in Long Bay and get them medical attention right away. So everybody came out of that one all right.
Wow. So after you go through an experience like that, do they send you up flying the very next day, or?
Oh, yeah, I kept flying. I evac'd them and went back to flying missions immediately. Yeah, that wasn't. You didn't get time off for good behavior. No, we were needed. We were flying 140 to 160 hours a month.
Do you know how many missions you did total?
No. But I wound up, they gave me the Air Medal, then the 1st through 41st Oak Leaf clusters. I got the Air Medal with V for Valor, and well, for pulling Webb out, I was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross. Wow. So, despite the ugliness of the scene in Vietnam, I came away okay. because all my stories wound up with happy endings.
Sure.
I lucked out. I was blessed.
So, tell me about how you left Vietnam. What did they...
I flew combat mission the last day I was there. They would give you up to 2 weeks off, but you know, I was John Wayne. I made John Wayne look like a sissy. I was just going to do everything that I could. So I flew a half-day mission, and when I landed in Long Binh at 11 o'clock, my plane's supposed to go at 1. They said, well, you can't out-process that fast. You're just going to have to stay here another day. So I missed my go-home day. When I got back into San Francisco, I was just stunned and amazed. I couldn't believe that I'd made it back. When I got there, May of '68 was the 1 month out of the whole time that we were over there that had the highest American casualties. I saw a lot of people lose their life. And I didn't think I was going to make it back, and I could not get over the sense of unreality when I did. And you know, it took months to get over not scanning the tree lines for bunkers or bad guys, and you know.
And what was your reception in San Francisco?
Oh, it was not good at all. There was a tall hippie type there at the airport, and he saw my wings, and so he came up and got in my face and started giving me a ration about how I'd napalmed villages and killed women and children. I'm like, whoa, wait a second. No, I did not. No. As a matter of fact, I saved a lot of women and children. You know, we did a lot of rescue missions. That's just not true. And he wouldn't give it up. And he spit in my face. And I just wasn't going to take that. So, old wrestler from high school and combat trained, I took him down and put him on the floor and commenced to start slugging him pretty good. Airport security came over and pulled me off of him. And I thought, oh boy, this is not good. Now I'm going to get court-martialed, you know, I'm going to get drummed out of the service because I didn't control myself in this situation. And to my amazement, the cops got me in the back room, they started laughing. And they said, we would have let you go a little while longer. We were afraid you were going to really hurt him. So they pulled me off of him and kept me hidden in the back until my plane was ready to take off, and then escorted me out to my flight so that I'd get away without getting into any trouble. So I was very grateful to them for that. They had the right attitude. That was a time, you know, May of '69, when the public sentiment against the soldiers was high, and that was a shame.
So how soon after that did you discharge?
It was a little over a year and a half. I instructed tactics, taught people how to survive flying a helicopter in combat situations in Vietnam for about a year and a half, when the Army decided that they had too many war officers. And so they got us all down at the post theater and said, if there's anybody who wants to get out early, we have tables set up, and that was as far as he got. We mob-scened the tables. He said, you can't get out tomorrow, but they offered a 6-month early out program. And there was a lot of us who took that, because although in combat, we did everything it took to get the job done. Anything, anywhere, anytime. That was our motto. Not so much stateside. I'm a good combat soldier, but I'm not much of a garrison soldier. So I figured I needed to get out and get into the civilian world. And I don't think that that was a wrong decision.
And how long have you been here in Maryville?
I've been here about 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, I flunked my flight physical, or I'd have kept flying helicopters. Somebody had to make me go home. And fortunately, I had already had a chance. I'd been commuting back and forth to the Gulf of Mexico on a 14 and 14 for about a year and a half. So I found the house, got my stuff moved into it where I planned to retire. So that when they said, you're through, I had everything all set up. So it worked out way beyond my wildest dreams, that I would have a nice house, that I would be living in a beautiful state with this incredible biodiversity, and I've had freelance photography businesses going all my life, and I've got that going now. Not that I expect to make any money with it, because I won't, but it keeps me honest, keeps me on the street, keeps me busy, and every once in a while I can do somebody a good turn with it.
And now that you're a Vietnam veteran, and it's been many years since the Vietnam War ended, what does it feel like today to know that you served during the Vietnam War, and now that our community and our nation accepts our Vietnam veterans better than they did? So how does that feel today?
I have no regrets from my service in Vietnam. Some people came away wounded, not just physically, but in their heart. I'm delighted to see the change in the way people are treating veterans. I've gotten together with some friends. We're doing a AMVETS chapter because we want to reach out to learn that our guys coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan are having a suicide rate of 22 a day. That's what we named our post 22 for that reason. Is unacceptable. Something has to be done. And even if it's just find these people who need someone that they can talk to. It's so difficult to try to explain a combat role that you've had to someone who has never been there and done that. And so a lot of times people clam up, and when they hold all that inside, it's when they start to have problems. I still cry today. I mean, I think about some of the things that I saw. We inserted troops into heavy contact, and we'd land, drop off fresh troops, and pick up the wounded and the dead and carry them out and bring in reinforcements and bring out the wounded and the dead. And I'll never get over that.
Well, we very much appreciate your service in the Vietnam War and what you do in the veterans community now, and just want to thank you today for this interview.
Oh, my pleasure.